Hello and welcome. Today on Let's Talk About It show, we learn a lot about how to develop and grow your self-confidence as a person with visible or invisible disability. Today, our special guest will tell you all about it, and he's going to say a lot because he's a former radio host. I'm not sure if former, we'll clarify in a moment. It's Chris Mitchell. Hello, Chris.
Good day, everybody. It's great to be here. Yes, I used to work in morning radio back in the 80s when music was really, really good. So I'm an 80s kind of guy, and I have a lot of energy. So it's great to be here. Great to speak with you and your wonderful, amazing, totally awesome dude audience.
Well, thank you. Hey, what do you like after you have a couple of cups of coffee?
I don't drink coffee. I'm not allowed to. My wife says no to the coffee. I don't drink. I love the smell of coffee. I don't care for the taste, but I do enjoy Pepsi. I've cut back on that because in my life, I used to drink 6 to 12 cans a day. That led to diabetes. So I've cut back to 3 cans a week.
Oh, okay. That's probably good.
And tonight, we're recording this on a Friday, is pizza night. So I get Pepsi tonight with my pizza. Because you can't have pizza with water or milk. You got to have it with Pepsi.
I hadn't thought of that. Okay.
Well, this is a right way to go about Friday. And, well, Fridays can be different and they must be different, right?
They should be indeed.
So, Chris, tell us more. Developing and growing confidence. We know that's something that each and every one of us trying to master throughout the life and everywhere since we are 18, maybe younger. And so what is the start point?
Okay, first of all, let me just say a couple of things here real quickly. I am a person with multiple disabilities. I'm visually impaired, and my vision is 22 in my left eye, 23 in my right. That's from a birth defect from CRS, congenital rubella syndrome. So I've been legally blind since birth. I am also physically disabled. I survived an incomplete spinal cord injury, which is known as it's an incomplete spinal ischemic stroke to my spinal cord. So that's an incomplete spinal cord injury to the medical community, stroke to us lay people. And I also am neurodiverse. I have ADHD, and at times it's hard to tell in this program. First of all, whenever I tell somebody I have ADHD, nobody's surprised. But it's hard to tell that I also do battle with depression. So I have those 4 things going on. One very interesting fact, not about me, but about every one of us on this planet. 86% of us struggle with self-confidence. It does not matter if you're a person with a disability or not, a person with multiple disabilities or not. It does not matter if you're male, female, high income, low income, middle income, what your ethnicity is, what your sexual orientation is, whether you're a person of faith or not, whether you live in a first world country, third world country, 86% of us struggle with self-confidence. And this is something I realized because, I mentioned it a while ago, I worked in radio in the 80s, so I'm an old dinosaur. I'm in my 50s right now. And as I reflect back upon my life, I realized that everything I've achieved in my life has been because of my level of self-confidence. And everything I fell short of achieving in my life has been for the same reason, my level of self-confidence. So I've written a book. We are in the process of getting that ready to be published late spring, early summer here in the United States, called Success Dose for Self-Confidence, where I take people through the 10 steps that I've done myself over the last 30 years so they can discover, develop, and grow their self-confidence. And that starts with self-acceptance, which means you need to accept yourself who you are. A lot of us, we don't do that, especially in the disabled community, because we have so many outer forces telling us, you're not good enough. You can't do this because you're disabled. And not only disabled people, anyone can hear that you can't do this. You're not good enough. You're not worthy. You get that from everyone. I mean, everyone, including well-meaning and loving people. You can get that from your own family. And this is what damages our self-confidence. So our first step is to accept ourselves who we are. And that comes from self-care and self-awareness.
That is.
You just left me breathless. That was very, very good. You're absolutely right.
That's impressive. And you're my kind of person. When someone comes in on the show and it has statistic number, it's like, yes, we got it. Because I'm the one weird in the family who always gives numbers.
Yes.
So Chris, tell us more. I know we all get to the point when we realize that maybe not all of us actually get to the point where we realize that self-confidence is something that we need to work on. But it is hard because there are so many outside factors and internal factors as well. So how do we start to leverage those factors and inner voices to get to the point where we're ready to do more?
Okay, in the disabled community, we have what we often I call the 3 big A's, which people think he's going to cuss, and it isn't. It's called ableism, the ableist society, and ableist. And whether you're in the disabled community or not, you can probably relate to some of this. Ableism, in a nutshell, if you never heard of that term, it means preferring somebody who is, or believing a person without a disability is superior to somebody with a disability. And that probably happens in every demographic. Not to be offensive to anyone, it can happen with minorities where others think they're better than them. We have that in our country. I think globally, you see it on social media all the time. Everyone thinks they're better than someone else, and they think they make themselves better by putting other people down, by saying discouraging things or labeling. I hate labels. I have a saying that I tell people: labels belong on soup cans, they don't belong on me. And these labels that we get is from the external forces. And as I mentioned earlier, we have ableism, ableist society, and ableist. And there are 2 types of ableism. Well, there's a lot of subsections, but there's 2 main types. External, which you kind of alluded to, where we get it from the outside world. People would tell us, you're not good enough. You don't belong here. You're not going to succeed. Nobody's going to want to hire you because you are blah, blah, blah. You will only be able to do this with your life, etc., etc. And that's external ableism. And when we hear enough of that, it gets into our mind, and that becomes the internal voices that we hear. Now, I have this analogy I use. I call it Bob the Bouncer. Every one of us has Bob the Bouncer, has a Bob the Bouncer. But Bob the Bouncer does his job really badly. And the reason he does it badly is because of our in my belief, because of our society and what we hear all the time. Now, a bouncer's job is to keep the inappropriate or the out of the ordinary, like at a nightclub. If you don't have the right kind of clothing and all, you don't fit in, they don't let you in. The bouncer says, no, you can't come in. Now, so bouncers want to keep out things that are not normal. Well, since we hear so much negative in our life, Bob the Bouncer starts thinking that's normal. And when somebody says something to you, you know what? You're a wonderful person. You can achieve anything in your life. Bob the Bouncer goes, whoa, that's not normal. I don't hear that all the time. So he pushes that away in your mind, will discredit that because that's not the normal narrative that you have. So I tell people you got to either retrain or fire your Bob the Bouncer, because when we start getting those thoughts inside and our mind starts telling us these things, we look for credible sources of information. And to us, in our brain, our mind is probably one of the most credible sources, because whatever we believe becomes our reality. So what happens is that all that external stuff of people telling you what you cannot do, well, that gets into your mind and that becomes the internal dialogue. And that's where we get sabotaged. And not as much from the external, but from the internal, because if we don't believe we can do something, we are already defeated, and we need to fire Bob the Bouncer.
My friend, that is just so superb. You've given me just a few minutes to give me something that's better than what I've read in books, and it's easier for me to digest. I can feel your energy, and I truly appreciate the fact that Lucy found you. You guys found each other, and you're here, because I think I'm very positive, but you just cheered me up.
Good. That's my job.
That's an amazing ability. Well, Chris, I know many listeners are watching us now and think, well, I do have this problem and that. And oftentimes we tend to diminish our ability by comparing ourselves to others. This guy does better because he has this, this, and that. And that because can be really harmful. So what will be your advice to those listeners that have that because?
Well, what I like to say on this is this. As a person with disability, there's a lot of things that I could say very easily. I can't get this job because I'm visually impaired, or I can't get this job because of I don't drive a car, which I have no business driving a car, not just visually. I believe every car should have a megaphone on it so you can tell people in front of them how much of a jerk they are. And I believe we do not. I use the middle finger. My wife keeps telling me she drives. Quit doing that. He's bigger than you. He can beat you up. So, and you don't know people have guns in the cars anymore. So I'm not supposed to do that anymore. But you can come up with all these reasons, which boils down to excuses. And I'm not trying to put anyone down or judge it, because no judgment zone with me. But they could be excuses or obstacles. Either way, some people take those obstacles and make them into excuses. I take an obstacle and turn it into a challenge. And I have this motto: I eat challenges for breakfast because they taste better than Cheerios. And that's what you got to do. Instead of saying, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough because of this, you're letting that be an obstacle. You need to start seeing it as a challenge. And if you can't see that as a challenge, stop focusing in on all the negative stuff in your life that you believe or others have told you about yourself, and start focusing in on the positive. You can start a gratitude journal, and each morning waking up and writing down 3 things that you're grateful for. It could be anything. It could be, I woke up this morning. It could be it's sunny outside. I hear a bird chirping outside my window. My wife actually made me breakfast this morning without throwing food at me. Whatever it is, you can write down whatever 3 things you're grateful for, and keep a gratitude journal and do self-talk. I mean, when I started this journey about 30 years ago, I would stand in front of the mirror and say, I'm a likable person. I'm good looking. I have a lot of qualities. I was single at the time. I'm married now, so I don't do this part that much. But, I even though I am a person with disabilities, I have qualities a girl or woman's going to fall in love with, and I will be able to have a happy marriage, which I have for the last 20 years. And it sounded a little corny the first few times I did it, but it really does work. And some people will take that to the extreme and put little Post-it notes on their computer monitors around the house with these self-affirmations that will help them develop and grow their self-confidence by having a constant reminder right in front of them that they are a wonderful, amazing person that will help them focus in on the positive instead of all the negative.
Those are great tips on developing and growing self-confidence. Chris, what will you say the percentage that self-confidence takes for the person with disability in order to achieve something they want? Well, that magic formula, you can achieve this. What percentage self-confidence takes?
Okay, what does it take for a person with a disability to have self-confidence to do what they want to do to achieve in life? Well, it takes a lot of hard work. I mean, no matter your level of self-confidence, just because I believe I can do something does not mean it's going to happen unless if I do the heavy lifting and do the work. But the title of my book that I mentioned earlier is Success Starts with Self-Confidence, because a lot of people tell you if you want to be successful, you need to read these books, create a vision board, get up every morning, continuous learning, jogging, exercise, all this stuff's important. But if you do not believe in yourself, you're not going to be able to achieve much in your life. Your success would be limited, if at all, if it exists at all. And what you need to do to be self-confident, there are many things. We did talk about self-awareness and gratitude and self-care and self-talk, is surrounding yourself with supportive people. I call it thinning. I call it thinning the herd, but another analogy that I use is it's called pruning the garden of your friends. You're going to have people in your life who are going to lift you up, but you're going to have a lot of people who are going to tear you down. And you need to get those people out of your life as much as you possibly can, or at least ignore their negative comments, because you need positivity in your life to help you develop and grow your self-confidence. You don't need people tearing you down. There's a movie that I love from the 80s. It's called Police Academy 4. And it starred, a lot of people, but Steve Guttenberg was in it, and G.W. Bailey. G.W. Bailey played Captain Harris. He was kind of a by-the-book captain. And Steve Guttenberg played Sergeant Mahoney, which is kind of a young, newer cop that was a little bit more laid back. And they reunited. They were in the first movie together. Now they reunited. And Captain Harris trained him at the police academy. Captain Harris said to him, Mahoney, and I'm going to clean this up for the broadcast because it's a little bit, I had little extra words in it on the actual movie. So it's paraphrase here. Mahoney, has anyone still told you you're never going to amount to anything? And without missing a beat, Mahoney said, not anyone whose opinion matters to me, sir. So if someone says something negative to you about yourself or your abilities, remember, that's their opinion. Don't let their opinion become a fact that you believe about yourself.
Well said.
This is the greatest advice.
Well said, my friend.
Thank you very much for sharing, Chris. We will be all looking forward to your books and ready to order. And before we go, can you give us one affirmation that our listener will put on one of these post-its and somewhere on a laptop today that will help them start growing self-confidence even more?
One bit of information, I'm assuming you like to have something you can write on a post-it note you can put on your laptop screen. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, what you could put on there is, I am a unique and amazing person. What I tell people in my very first chapter of the book about self-acceptance, we all are as unique as two different snowflakes on a winter morning. No two people are alike. There could be two people here, and both of us could have autism, but yet we're so different people, and we have great abilities. And everything that we go through in our life did not happen to us; it happens for us. And we can just find the strengths and focus in on our strengths instead of dwelling in our negatives. We're going to be able to do great things. So if you have just a little post-it note, not able to put a lot of that on there, put down these words. I am, because you want to read this to yourself, I am an amazing person with many talents and abilities that will make me successful.
Oh, I love it.
That's perfect. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you for joining us. This is our amazing guest today, Chris Mitchell. Well, appreciate you joining and sharing this valuable insight.
Thank you so much for having me today.